that time again, Amanda.
Nap time?
Nap time. All right, everybody. Good night. We are going to sleep. No, it is not. It is time for yet another Rage Select podcast right here at Rage Select. And I'm Jeff.
I'm Amanda.
And before we get started this week, I have to just briefly, I want to, I just want to apologize to the Rage Select audience. I have been suffering from crippling back pain and horrible insomnia all week. So there have been a few times where, boy, my brain just hasn't worked because I'm running on like these bouts of like, it's like I can sleep for 3 hours and then I wake up and then it's like I'm not rested and I'm like, okay, I need to go back to sleep. And then I just lay there and nothing happens. And so, you know, I think I'm going to buy one of those Morgan Freeman things from 7, little metronome, right? And just make that. Let's drown out the sounds of the horrible city, or
I 100% don't remember that at all.
Yeah, because he throws it at the one point because Mills gets to him. Anyway, I've watched 7 way too many times.
Holy crap! I need to watch that movie again.
It's actually a good movie as long as you can get around the horrible acts of violence. But at least it's a movie where Kevin Spacey's a bad guy, so you don't have to be like, oh, this is weird now.
Wow, spoiler.
Yeah, so it's time for Rage Select Podcast. We got a ton of good stuff this week.
Yeah.
A good kind of all-around bunch of stuff. But before we talk about anything else, I got to talk about one thing.
Oh, God.
One specific thing. And that's Godzilla.
Is it Planet of the Monsters?
Yes, it is.
Because I watched it today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Excellent. All right.
I was like, how am I going to sneak in a Godzilla thing so I could talk about it?
I know this is
because I never tell you when I want to review something. I just try to force it in at the end.
I do know that Matt's going to be real mad.
Yeah.
But you know what? Matt,
we should do like a Sunday video where we review it without Matt, just because it'll piss Matt off.
No, that's what we're doing right now.
Right.
That's the.
Oh yeah, but this isn't exclusively like, it's not like you and John talking about Star Wars without me.
Hey man, no. What we would do is we would play a Godzilla game and then review it.
Oh my God.
Under the
Can
game.
we have Anger Matt Week where we just? It has to be on vacation, and then that entire week we're like, let's just play games that Matt would want to play.
There you go. So you know what? The first thing that I found really interesting about this was that Netflix is like hiding it. Like usually when a new Netflix thing comes out, it's just like fucking all up in your face.
Yeah.
But I literally was like, new releases, right? They always put whatever that dumb new series, whatever the 6 billion
whatever their
things,
stuff is, it's
Death
always
Note, Jessica Jones, whatever it is, right? And like I had to literally go and search for it.
Godzilla,
yeah, which was kind of fucked up.
So I will say, because I heard about that via Matt Frank, and then I heard about it via a bunch of other people, and John and we literally finished watching it. That's why I was late coming over here. We were like, you can come over, and I was like, I'll be there in a couple minutes.
Oh, so you okay?
Yeah,
wow,
just finished
hot on the
watching
heels.
it.
Okay,
it was on new releases when we looked at it.
Oh, okay, so maybe it just didn't.
I think either people complained enough, and they were like, well, fuck, guess we'll put it out front and center, or it was like a glitch in their system.
All I'm going to say is that, Netflix, if you want to hide the new actual movies and not Netflix originals that are on your series to the point where I go to a separate third-party website that scrapes the new releases, the least you could do is put the new Netflix thing front and center.
Well, I don't know why they don't just have a Netflix original shit like tab to scroll through,
because then once you can watch those, they
leave it all there and then give me the open space for everything else.
I don't know. In any case, what'd you think?
I thought it was good, but I am getting kind of, and this is going to be weird because Godzilla has hit this tone before, but I am getting a little tired of the grim dark shit. Because it's grim dark. And
it's pretty fucking grim.
John and I have started watching Power Rangers shows, like random episodes.
And those are, you want to talk about grim.
We watched like Beetleborgs. We got so into like watching random Power Ranger stuff. And it's because a lot of other media has become real grim dark. It's like Archie, but it's a murder mystery.
But they fuck.
Yeah. It's like Godzilla, but everything's dead.
But they fuck.
So it's just like, I don't know. It's just not that Godzilla was always hyper fun. There were definitely darker Godzilla movies and stuff, and I appreciate this one, and I think it's good. It's just, oh man, I don't need that kind of shit in my life. I'm already dealing with enough depression. I don't really need Godzilla to be depressing too. You know what I mean?
So for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's basically Godzilla shows up and starts fucking everything up.
A bunch of monsters.
Show up.
But Godzilla being Godzilla just fucking amplifies it.
He's like, hold my beer.
Yeah. And then us being humans were like, what if all of the nukes?
Yeah. So humanity leaves with some aliens that look like people, but some of them are religious and some of them are birdmen who have dark skin. And then they leave and they go to like hyperspace. It's been like 12,000 years or something, and they come back to Earth, which I gotta say that from a story perspective, like starting it with like, and then we had to abandon Earth to go into the stars, and then within 15 minutes of starting the show being like, and now we have to go back to Earth for contrived reason, and I'm like, ooh, that's bad. That's just bad storytelling structure.
Yeah.
Like it could have been, it might have made more sense if it was like, we decided to go into hypersleep and wait 10,000 years, and then surely Godzilla would be dead by that time, because, or he'd be real old and he's got a cane. He's like, oh, get off my
using
planet.
Skyscrapers as walkers.
Right.
And like,
but what I do like about it is, because Godzilla Final Wars is my favorite Godzilla, I do like the fact that it's all like anime as fuck, like lasers and planes, and like, for our future we must take back our planet. Okay, like I'm all down with that.
Yeah.
I was a little curious though, did it bug you? Because it bugged me, where it was like, it's okay, so it's faux anime, it's CGI that looks kind of like anime, but everything has a little bit of weird like Jim Lee extra dirt lines on it. Like no matter,
bothered me when they were exploring a terrain and they were like, be careful, like these like plants, they can cut like a knife, and you don't want them to cut your suit because we don't know what this atmosphere will do to you. And then you look at the suit that particular guy is wearing, and it's got like scuff all over it. It's like, you're clearly just bumping into shit left and right, bro.
Yeah, this is the clumsiest people in the world. I mean, like, even, I don't know, even like in the past, before everything went to hell, everybody was a little like dirtied up, and I don't like
fairness,
it.
What are you like, taking extra showers and doing laundry while Godzilla is atomic blasting everything?
Yeah, to me though, what it came off as, and this may not be the case, but what it came off as is a tendency of bad artists to put extra
lines for no
distress in a thing to make it look more detailed than it actually is.
But I don't know what would be worse, that or having it look too like crisp and clean when everything's being destroyed around them.
Yeah, the other thing, well, see, it's different.
Then it looks like an Apple commercial. Do you know what I mean?
I first noticed it on the ship, so that was like, I mean, before they even went, I'm like, you guys have been in this ship for like a long time. Does nobody clean in here? Does nobody like?
No.
Do you do your laundry? Do you launder your space suits? Do you have more than one suit?
You put it outside to air, but there's no air.
Oh no!
Somebody's like, I gotta wash my jacket. And they put it out on the line, and it just flies away.
So yeah, in at the end of the day, you know, it's weird because Netflix, to me, it's strange how Netflix, in a certain way, has a slightly lower bar, where because I'm already paying for Netflix and this movie was like an hour and 48 minutes or something, and I'm just
28.
like, okay, so like 90 minutes, and I'm just like, you know, I wasn't.
And it's a part one.
Cheated.
Like, you're getting more.
Yeah, that was a little.
Did you stay for the end credits? Because there is an end credits thing.
A stinger?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay.
No, the.
So you didn't watch the movie then? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, I gotta say that, like, I don't want to. I don't want to go into spoilers. There's some stuff at the end that I was just kind of like, Jesus, movie, can you give me like one fucking second of like having a good feeling? No? Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was a little, I don't know. This is why I'm sure I'm going to get shit for this. It kind of reminded me of Attack on Titan. There's a lot of like
just oppressively depressing.
Yeah, it's just so like, and then worse things.
But there wasn't as much. There was like 95% less crying than Attack on Titan, which isn't saying much
so
because
far.
Yeah, every other scene in Attack on Titan is somebody weeping openly.
Oh boy! So leave your comments below. We'll love to hear how we're horrible, shitty people.
No, I didn't say that I don't like Attack on Titan, but that fucking main dude, he fucking just cries all the time.
Wow, so that is your gender normative bullshit of
I didn't say that was a bad thing.
Cry.
I just pointed out that motherfucker cries all the time. And that I
don't even know if it's a bad show. I just know that I can't watch it because it's like, this is depressing. Oh god. It got worse. It's like asking me to watch Berserk. It's like, it's edited in fucking like demon rape.
What I think was interesting, I actually was reading the Berserk manga.
Oh, yeah.
And then it kind of got to a point where I felt like things were a little bit lightened up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Did somebody get raped right after that?
No, then I lost interest. I was like, nah.
It's only really good if somebody's in pain or tortured. Is this what Game of Thrones is like?
Well, Game of Thrones kind of does the same thing where, like, if you establish a main conflict and then you drag it out for, 4,000 pages.
The Walking Dead?
That's why I don't read The Walking Dead. That's why I think it is an entirely too long of a book.
So, if you need to know why I'm tired of Grimdark, it's because we had
The Walking Dead.
One conversation where we literally just could mention different things, and you know what I mean, where it's like Grimdark, like Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean it? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was talking about The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That I'm done. I'm tired of that.
The Punisher. You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because today I actually looked up because I wanted to know when the fuck One Punch Man comes back, because One Punch Man is such a breath of fresh air where it's like it is kind of dark, except then Saitama just punches whatever it is. And then
have you watched My Hero Academia? What is it? My Hero Academia?
No.
It's really good.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of One Punch Man feel. They have like superpowers, but they're like in high school.
Okay.
So
I tend to shy away from any anime that takes place in a high school because it's just like.
Have you seen the movie Sky High?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Ish.
Okay.
Ish.
So it's kind of anime version of that, but like better.
I think that the next, I'm not as tired of Grimdark. I just want it to be used properly.
I'm just dealing with a lot of depression right now, and I can't be like, I really need to escape. Oh no.
So somebody actually asked last week in my next project that I was going to try to start on today before I tried to nap for 2 hours and then just ended up watching Breaking Bad. Grimdark. And it was season 2 where like just Jesse's getting shit on for like 3 episodes straight. Is the Devilman Crybaby Netflix thing.
Yeah.
Because I've never watched Devilman, but I like again, it's Netflix. It's sitting there. I already paid for it. So I'm like, I'd give it 2 episodes and see if it's shitting in my mouth. Yeah. And if it's not, then if it's just shitting near my mouth, then I'll be like, all right, I'll watch 4 more episodes.
Shit on or around my mouth. This is a weird Godzilla review. I really hope Matt Frank is somewhere pulling his hair out. Like, what?
You're not even talking about. Also, is it just me? Okay, tell me. Is it just me? Or is Godzilla a little bit of a fatty chunk in this movie?
He's a chunky chunk. I loved it. I was like, yay.
And like they zoom up on his face at one time and like, oh, you're old and chunky. You're just like
he looks like he's made out of a birch tree.
I'm a Godzilla. I'm a birch tree.
A woodpecker would just be on him. Like,
yeah. The thing about Godzilla as well is that this definitely falls into the category of man versus Godzilla, which I'm less interested in than like Godzilla punches another monster.
Oddly enough, I'm more interested in it.
Yeah.
Like I really liked it. This is going to be counter. Things that I thought made it a good film.
Yeah.
Was the fact that he was treated so much like a force of nature.
Okay.
Which is how Godzilla was kind of originally shown, and I really, really enjoyed the sound design. And it might just be because we have like a a projector, so like we have the film on screen. Like it's bigger, and then we have like surround sound.
Sure.
So everything's very booming.
Ooh.
But I'm sorry that we take our cinema seriously in the Sitton household. But it's just felt it'd be like kind of quiet when you're just with the humans, and then Godzilla would come, and you could like feel the atmosphere change in the room because the sound design had such a low bass going.
Okay.
That it was really cool.
Okay. I mean, like, again, if you've got, like, I don't think that this is worth getting Netflix to watch.
No.
But if you have Netflix, I think it's worth your 90 minutes.
Yeah. I think if they sell like part 1 and part 2 together in like some Blu-ray set or something, if it were, the cost of whatever regular Blu-ray is, I would, if you're a fan of Godzilla, I would say you should watch it.
It also has a lot of, it has a lot of good stuff. But there's whenever they try to do that thing where they make CGI models and then try to like make them look like anime, like 80% of the time it's fine, and then some part it's like, oh, that's just like a really weirdly robotic like turn that you just did. Mm-hmm. There's also like a lot of weird, kind of like the thing at the beginning I was talking about with the we got to leave and then we got to come back so what was even the point? There's a whole like religious, like one of the alien races is religious and everybody is part of that religion except for the other alien races who are just like, they build robot like tanks and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of like, boy, you really just glossed over all this other stuff.
But
and
I think that's because, and I hate to do it, but I think it's because a lot of it's going to come through in part 2. Because the making robot stuff isn't just any robot. And you're a Godzilla fan, you would know what robot I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe what I'm getting at it, maybe out of that, as a standalone, I'd give it like mostly thumb kind of pointing in an up direction. It's not like an enthusiastic thumbs up, but like, not bad. If it is going somewhere more interesting, then I guess I'm kind of going to fall back on Castlevania and say I wish they would have just waited and put the whole thing out.
I agree.
Instead of just giving me put the popsicle near my mouth instead of I don't know what's going on with your mouth. I don't know.
Why are people putting things in your mouth?
Let's move on.
I don't want to talk about it.
Let's move on. I was going to talk about this Tomb Raider trailer, but
the single ladies. I'm sorry. Because Tomb Raider has the Survivor by Destiny's Child as their music and in the trailer, and it's slowed down, and you guys should know by now how much I hate that fucking slowed down music shit. I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to work harder. Tomb Raider 2018.
That's kind of a potentially upsetting question.
Mm-hmm. Why women? Oh, no.
Is Lara Croft interesting, or is it just that she's Lara Croft? Is it just that like she was this like female iconic character in a video game, but like I always have a hard time with like, what is it that makes Lara Croft interesting?
I don't think the character's particularly,
because this is what, like the third time the 2 Angelina Jolie movies, and then this, and then
there were
like,
only 2 Angelina. I thought there were 3.
There was 2.
Okay.
So she got the silver one, and there was the
I'm with
other
you.
one. Yeah,
Keep going. Mr. and Mrs. Smith wasn't a weird Lara Croft movie.
I like that movie.
Too.
I mean, like the game that this is obviously based on, the reboot game, right? Because you got the bow and arrow and the shipwreck.
But then
and all
where's
that
the
stuff.
Samoan guy that has a crush on her?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was my favorite part of the game. I was like, if he dies, I'm not playing another Lara Croft game ever.
Obviously changed, but like, I don't know. I guess
Or the best friend that gets raped? Does the best friend get raped? I feel like something happens to the best friend.
Murder? I don't know. It's been a long time since I played that game.
Murder punched?
I don't know. Unfortunately, this is the thing, is that like, I remember the structure of that game and I remember liking it, but this is the problem that I have with Lara Croft in general, is like, I mean, it was just like, oh man, I got to survive. But like, I don't remember, like, I remember how Nathan Drake is funny.
Yeah.
But like, Lara Croft isn't funny.
No.
And she's not like,
she's kind of overly serious.
She's got a very determined, serious attitude.
Yeah.
My father's legacy.
It's kind of this Indiana Jones idea.
Yeah.
But it's without the interesting character that is Indiana Jones.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because Indiana Jones is charismatic in his own right, and it's not that I don't think that I don't think that she was bad in Tomb Raider in the reboot at least.
Yeah,
but it's just like there wasn't a lot to grab onto. It was more like trading on the legacy of this character. It's like Mario, right? Is that like I don't exactly remember all of Mario's scintillating dialogue over the years because he doesn't really have very much. But I keep kind of struggling to go like, I mean, I don't have any problem with this movie, and the trailer looked relatively interesting. And the biggest problem is that Lara Croft doesn't really have a big nemesis, right? In the beginning, it was just like you're raiding tombs, and the reason is very flimsy.
They got the weird Da Vinci Code turning key shit and National Treasure garbage. It's just I feel like you could have been like, we're gonna call this like Judy the fucking adventurer, and we would be like, oh, it kind of reminds me of Lara Croft, but I don't know if there's anything that's I don't know.
You know what, they need to take some of that horrible Avengers humor from the Star Wars movies and give it to Lara Croft, because I was just thinking about it. I'm like, Indiana Jones is charismatic and he's kind of funny, right? Nathan Drake is charismatic, he's kind of funny. The other one that I probably fit into that is Brendan Fraser in the Mummy movies is charismatic and kind of funny, right?
Well,
so like,
even if it's not Brendan Fraser, but it's the female character Rachel Weisz.
Yeah.
If it was her, because she has a definitive character. She's a little airheaded, but she's super smart at the same time.
Yeah.
And, like, give her something.
Right.
But she doesn't have
I'm Lara Croft.
Lara Croft.
It's like if she repeats her name and
I'm Lara Croft and starts shooting people.
And my family, and my father, and like in this trailer, it's like her father's like, there's some organization that's trying to start a genocide. Go stop them, my daughter.
Yeah.
Like,
it is your purpose.
What?
She's like, huh?
Why?
Yeah.
I call the police. Like, call Interpol and be like, look at this tape of my father. Go to this island with army men and shoot the baddies.
It just comes off a little bit like a made-for-TV action movie.
I don't know.
TNT blockbuster weekend.
Like, I keep bringing this up, and I'm going to keep bringing it up forever. There's a game out there. I don't know how many people actually played it. There was a game franchise called No One Lives Forever that was like a 70s super spy thing, and the lead character was a lady. Her name was Kate Archer, and she was British. She had a wry sense of humor, but she also kicked a lot of ass, and it was just like, okay. But what are the Lara Croft one-liners? Like, I actually enjoyed the Angelina Jolie stuff because I feel like Angelina Jolie can pull off wry. And she kind of did a little bit.
Yeah, well, she didn't say as many jokes, but like with a flick of her eyebrow, you got a sense of humor from her. And this girl is not.
Who is she?
I don't know. Doesn't it say like Academy Award winner, blah, blah, blah?
She's been in something. It's Alicia Vikander. Alicia Vikander. She's married to Michael Fassbender. Wait, so is her last name Vikander Fassbender?
Oh my God, that's amazing!
I would be, man. That is a heck of a thing. I know I've seen her in something. Let's see. No. Jason. She was Jason Bourne. No, she was in the movie Jason Bourne. She was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the Guy Ritchie one. Oh, she was the robot lady in Ex Machina.
Oh, okay.
That's what I know her from. And she was just in a bunch of stuff. She's in that movie Seventh Son with what's his name?
Jeff Bridges and Julianne Moore and
I couldn't understand him in that movie.
Maybe John and I saw this movie in theater.
Holy shit.
Maybe don't fucking judge me.
Was it a double feature with The Last Witch Hunter starring Vin Diesel?
I also enjoyed that movie, so go fuck yourself. I did watch that movie in theaters as well.
It's a quadruple feature with the Dungeons and Dragons movie with Jeremy Irons and also Dungeon Siege in the Name of the King with Jason Statham.
No, there's another one. There's another one. There has to be another one. Nicolas Cage is in one.
Oh shit! What is the name of that? I know that. I know what you're talking about. Fuck. What was it
movie
like?
Marathon.
The Magicians, The Apprentice. The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
I'm also not sure that I saw that one.
Oh my God! I'm about to go to Nick Cage's IMDb
Good luck.
List of Ghost Rider. That's what you were thinking of. Was Ghost Rider. Nicolas Cage filmography. Let's see how many pages this is. Okay. Trust, Outcast, Left Behind, Joe, Frozen Ground, The Croods, Ghost Rider, Trespass, Season of the Witch.
Yes.
Is that it?
No,
that was
I don't know.
Sorcerer's Apprentice or Season of the Witch.
I think it might be Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Okay, or Bangkok Dangerous. I don't know. They both look exactly the same. Wow, they're both pretty. Okay. Anyway.
Season of the Witch. Not
Season of the Witch? Okay.
Yeah, The Sorcerer's Apprentice is like a Disney weird movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of weird things.
Anyway, are we still talking about
Let's
Godzilla?
talk about Nintendo.
Yeah. Finally, with their collaboration with IKEA, I'm so happy.
I suppose. So this week, Nintendo announced Nintendo Labo, which is, quite frankly, okay, you know what? I'm just going to say it. This is the reason I like Nintendo. Because Nintendo will do dumb, stupid, crazy shit like this. And like Apple, they can get away with this dumb shit because they're Nintendo.
Yeah.
So this is a bunch of like cardboard, like
Build it
schematics.
Yourself.
Yeah, and then you like put the tabs together, and then you put the Switch in it, and the Joy-Cons. Apparently, the Joy-Cons have some kind of like transmitter on the back of them or something, because you like build a piano and then you put the Joy-Con in, and then you literally play a cardboard piano that the Joy-Con is able to pick up.
All other consoles are like loot boxes, and Nintendo's like boxes,
regular boxes. So there's a piano, there's a fishing pole, there's
one where it's like a backpack where you can control a mech.
That
was real cool.
There's a
steering
motorcycle.
Wheel? I don't understand the house one.
Also a house.
Yeah.
And then there's also like a little remote controlled like robot that you can walk around, and it's just real weird.
Yeah.
So do you know, okay, so first off, Amanda, what do you think?
I think it's neat.
Yeah.
I think it's weird. I don't know. I'm kind of into it where they're like showing you all the things you can do with I mean, it's just cardboard.
Yeah.
So it's just it's really amazing, and I hope that means that it's not like an expensive thing to do.
Well, okay, that actually brings us to a very good point, because do you know how expensive it is?
$4 million.
You're not far off. So there's going to be two different packages of Nintendo Labo stuff. There is a $70 package, which is going to be the first one, that comes with piano, fishing rod, motorcycle, house, and 2 RC cars. And then there is the $79.99, the $80. So there's a $70 version and an $80 version. The $80 version has the giant robot backpack and the I think that's just the giant robot one. Yeah. So, okay, so here's a little bit of my problem with this, is that's a pretty hefty price tag. And these things don't look like they're made to, they don't seem like they're going to fall apart any second.
Yeah.
But by the same token, they're also cardboard.
Yeah.
And like they're not going to last for a long time. And it's kind of it's a big ask for let's just do this thing and have fun with it. Now, I mean, obviously I'm going to buy one because you know,
you make poor life choices.
Yeah. I run Rage Select / make poor life choices. So
one and the same.
Yeah. But it's kind of a hefty price tag. It's the price of a video game for a series of
cardboard boxes to
augmented reality video game mini games, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like when let's say you bought these, because they seem like, at least the first pack very much seems like it's geared for kids. But you know, when your kid gets too rowdy and breaks that cardboard fishing pole, you're not going to be able to just buy the cardboard fishing pole.
Even if they're enjoying it and taking good care of it, but spill their soda pop.
Right.
Like, once that shit gets soggy, are you going to be playing with those RC cars?
No.
You're going to throw it away.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like the best case scenario is, can you get $70 worth of entertainment out of this thing before you end up throwing it away? Which is weird.
Do you think you're gonna get people that get the, like get their version and then make a stable version?
Maybe.
That like sell like plastic versions of this.
Well, what I'm actually more interested in is one, whether the like what they're looking like, what kind of okay, how many of these are going to make? Whether this is going to be like an SNES Classic thing where they're going to make them, but they're going to be very short supply, and then when they sell out, they don't make any more of them, like Nintendo tends to do.
Yeah.
And
that'd be weird out of cardboard boxes, though, right?
I
also,
would think
the
so.
trees.
What's that?
Also, the trees.
Also, the trees. Then there's another question of: do you drop it in price? Do you sell them individually after a certain amount of time? Where if you just want to buy a fishing rod, you can just buy a fishing rod.
Yeah. Oh man, you can customize them yourself with your own stickers. Etsy's gonna be full of sticker sets.
Yeah. It's cardboard.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to on it.
Good news, teenagers with a lot of weird band stickers.
What's funny, though, also for this, what's a little strange is that even in this video, these things don't look super sturdy.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to for me, is the question of, it seems like a pretty nifty little experience.
So what would what would you want the price to be? Like straight up half of what if it was like $40 and $50, would you be
40 and 30?
40 and 30?
For 35. So 70 and 80, so 40 and 35.
Yeah.
I think that 40 and 35 is worth it, because that means for for less than $100, you can buy all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'd feel bad if I was able to get a little bit of usage out of each one. I mean, especially like the robot punch one, I can imagine like...
I just realized that the guy stepping on the the gas pedal is wearing socks without shoes, because I'm pretty sure if he were wearing shoes, he would have dented the cardboard.
Maybe. Yeah, that's really the biggest thing, is that like I applaud Nintendo for a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
It seems like quite a bit. It seems like a fair amount of money for something that is not permanent. Now, I don't know if that means like I think that I'd rather just have it be less money than say selling these sorts of peripherals, but in a more stable configuration.
Yeah,
because part of the fun seems to be also building it,
yeah.
Right? Like kind of like Legos.
Sure. Oh man, if they could team with Lego.
Now, see, that would be a great next step, right? Is if they took this and then they were like...
But based on how expensive Legos are, that would actually be like a $4,000 investment.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Shit is expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it looks cool, and I'm sure that we'll get a chance to check it out at some point. I was thinking maybe Brian Brushwood bought a Switch, and I was thinking like maybe I could convince him to buy it for like his kids, and then we could make a video or something. But it's an interesting idea. And again, I have to applaud Nintendo for trying some weird shit.
I'm always down for the innovation. I just don't know if I'd be willing to pay for this particular one.
Exactly. Speaking of Nintendo, and speaking of the Nintendo Labo, so there's a really funny story that came with this, and that's that the German ESRB, the German equivalent of the ESRB, of the ratings board, which is the Unterhaltungssoftware Selbstkontrolle,
Gesundheit,
was sent. Nintendo sent this to them for ratings, and they didn't know what it was, and they almost just threw it away because it was like, "What's all this cardboard?"
You sent us a box with your empty boxes in it.
You sent us, but what are we supposed to? We're supposed to put this shit together. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
But then they didn't, and they did it. So, speaking of Nintendo, we have some Detective Pikachu news. So first up, we got a brand new trailer for Detective Pikachu. It looks wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. It's like Howard the Duck for Pokemon.
Because it's just, I'm Pikachu.
Yeah.
Let's go on an adventure.
How could you mistake me for that guy?
So when I watch this trailer, I know that I'm whistling Dixie here, but I want everything. Mm-hmm. I listen to this trailer, right, and I love the voice they've got for Detective Pikachu. Mm-hmm. I wish that it was like 35% more like Brooklyn accent.
But would it not be Rocket Raccoon?
Sort of. But then the other thing I would like is considering there is 0%. I would love it if there was a version of this game that was secret that adults could buy, where that Pikachu was swearing his ass off. Because when he's in there, he seems like he should be swearing.
He really wants to.
Yeah. Because he's like, how did you
mistake me for this fucking guy?
This fucker over here? And there's like a thing where one of the other Pokemon is like walking behind him. He's like, what's this fucking...
What's this D-bag looking at?
What's that Mew doing over there? Oh, it's fucking coughing. Oh, this guy.
Oh, man, that's a good fucking cup of coffee.
Like, this game would be my favorite game of all time if there was a swearing Pikachu in it.
That'd be great.
As it is, it looks pretty fun.
Yeah. But you guys, I will say that you... were not privy to the Jeff being upset that he wasn't wearing Detective Pikachu wasn't wearing the jacket that he's in
the front of the box. he's got his little Sherlock Holmes detective hat, but on the front of the box, he's also wearing a little jacket.
It's just you seem so upset over it.
He looks very dapper in this jacket.
It's a good look.
I do like
that's a good fucking jacket on Pikachu.
I mean, there's that one part where because he's got a little kid with him, right?
Yeah.
Kid's like, electric blast Pikachu, and he's like, hey, I don't tell you what, I'll come down to where you work and slap the dick out of your mouth, numb nuts. You're telling me what to do on Pikachu over here.
Oh my God, Jeff, we need to make this happen.
We need to hack the ROM.
No, so we do like a regular dojo, then we do it's a
3DS game.
God damn it, Jeff.
Also, this one guy in the trailer sounds like John Goodman for like 10 seconds.
It kind of looks like John Goodman.
Yeah. And I was like, is John Goodman in this Pikachu game?
That'd be amazing.
But it looks pretty cool. It's kind of weird that they have this trailer where it's like a full screen 1080p trailer with 3DS graphics, and so it's just rough as hell.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
But
they're making a Detective Pikachu movie, though, right?
Yes. But along with this, we're also getting a new 2DS XL with the big Pikachu face on it.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
I'm kind of upset that it isn't Detective Pikachu's face. It's regular Pikachu.
I mean, what are you going to put the hat on it?
No, he's got like he's never happy in the trailer. So he's got some like eyebrows down. That's like how you tell
true.
Detective Pikachu from regular Pikachu. So yeah, if this is if they want to keep making these games, I'm all about it, because I'm not into catching 165 billion Pokemon and then making them fight, because that's just like animal cruelty right there.
Don't be a hater.
Like dog fighting or cockfighting or Pikachu fighting, but foul-mouthed Brooklyn Pikachu's got to solve some fucking mysteries, kid. Pick me up, god damn it! I got little stumpy legs. So yeah. But that's coming out March of 2018.
Ooh,
so good.
So close.
Bad news for everybody on the Nintendo front. Netflix doesn't appear to be coming to the Switch anytime soon.
That's
apparently,
a bummer.
They have Hulu on it, but apparently there's some problem between Nintendo and Netflix.
Netflix is being a real dick. No, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a tweet where somebody tweeted at Netflix, is there any word on when Netflix may be launching on Nintendo Switch? The demand is high. We're eagerly awaiting its launch. And Netflix customer service basically said, there are no current plans for Netflix on Nintendo Switch. We appreciate your feedback. I want to know, it doesn't matter who it is, because it'd be a good move for both Nintendo and Netflix, especially considering that Netflix has their days are, well, not that their days are numbered, but like, Disney's Fox acquisition, right?
Yeah.
Like they're putting together this monolithic thing where they're really going to have control, and God help Netflix if Disney decides to just launch their own streaming service.
Yeah.
Which I think is why they're doing all these original series and things, is try to build up their own stable before everybody, make themselves a brand instead of a service. And they've been doing a good job so far.
Yeah.
They put a lot of money into a lot of things. Like I keep just seeing I don't even watch half the series that are on season 3 on Netflix.
Yeah.
And
it's always weird when I'm like, oh, this is a new show. 4 seasons in. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all the Nintendo news, and now we've got some bad news. It's time for the bad news bummer section of the podcast.
I always feel like it's like an exclusive to me thing.
We got 3 bad newses in a row. So first up, there was a series of stories that came out from 3 separate French outlets, Le Monde, Canard PC, and Mediapart,
Gesundheit.
about Quantic Dream. So Quantic Dream is David Cage's company. David Cage is the numbnuts who thinks he's a movie director who made Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain,
Until Dawn?
Indigo Prophecy. No. Until Dawn was another company doing what he does a million times better.
Okay, yeah.
That basically the office, the Quantic Dream like kind of work environment is just like horrifically racist, toxic, like sexist, like people photoshopping employees' faces onto naked people.
Wow,
like,
really?
There's a quote here that says, let's just read. This is from a Game Informer article. An IT manager discovered 600 Photoshop images that depicted employees in homophobic, sexist, or offensive ways, including Nazi symbols or crude imagery. These files date back to 2013, with some even being displayed in open spaces around the office. There was one report that there was a surveillance video of a burglary at the company, and that David Cage asked a Tunisian employee if one of the robbers was his cousin.
Jesus.
So Cage and company have roundly dismissed this. But David Cage's statement is a little weird. I don't really know much about David Cage outside of the fact that I think he's a little bit of a D-bag just from his general game making. But he says, you want to talk about homophobia? I work with Ellen Page, who fights for LGBT rights. You want to talk about racism? I work with Jesse Williams, who fights for civil rights in the USA. Judge me by my work. And I'm like, that doesn't really address what you're talking about. Yeah. Like, it's possible even that this stuff was going on at your company and you never saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of a bad excuse, but whatever.
I have a gay friend. I can't be a homophobe.
Exactly. That's exactly what this sounds like to me.
I mean, it's just it's also like, I mean, you can be a homophobe and use a homosexual person in your... Also, she wasn't out at that time.
Right.
So it's just, I
don't know. It's weird. But apparently there's also a very high turnover rate at Quantic Dream of employees coming and going, which is never a good sign either.
Yeah.
The second part of the story, though, is that apparently, so this is like super hearsay. Sony has blacklisted one of the journalists that
reported
this.
Oh.
Now, this is a little weird because this is a Le Monde journalist. His name is William Auderu. I'm sorry, French. I don't know. I can't.
I'm sorry, French.
But
the language, I apologize.
He said that basically back channel sources of his told him that Sony now has him on their blacklist. Somebody asked him for proof, and he responded, "No proof to share. Sorry, Sony doesn't send any congratulations. You've been blacklisted greetings cards." So,
dude, I would be so happy to get a "you've been blacklisted" greeting card.
Me too. But that's kind of fucked up because, like, Sony partners with David Cage for the Detroit Become Human is a PS4 exclusive, I believe. Yeah. So that's kind of fucked up in my opinion. But to me, this whole thing seems like it's probably true, but there's a lot of bad shit that happens in game development, whether it's crunch or whether it's like there was that story that came out a little while back about CD Projekt Red having a very high turnover rate and having their employees kind of be treated very poorly and worked to the bone. It seems like it's still definitely a thing. The only thing that I could add to it is just, I don't think anybody should have to work in an environment like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also been...
I feel like that's kind of something that runs rampant in the video game industry, though.
Yeah.
Especially, like, the better your game is, the more you can treat your employees like shit.
Yeah.
Because I know Rockstar has had a lot of, like, they had some... I know some people that used to work for them, and that was not the best work environment either.
Yeah. Well, let's move away from people who work for video games to people who play video games, because...
we're going to talk about ourselves?
Yes, no. A Canadian... Okay, this is actually very strange. Okay.
Canadians usually are.
There's a Canadian. He's a Canadian man facing charges in British Columbia for flooding Twitch chat channels with offensive bullshit. So, okay. This 20-year-old kid named Brandon Apple, and he basically has been charged with mischief in relation to computer data is the charge. So let's see, over the course of 2 months in 2017, he used a program that exists called Chat Surge to spam roughly 150,000 chat messages to 1,000 different Twitch channels. Some of the examples in this story is get the black guy out of here. And then I've got a bunch of asterisks, and there's 3 of them. I don't know if that's ass or if they just didn't want to put enough so that you knew exactly what he was saying. And death to all Jews. And reportedly,
so just like spam hate.
Yeah, sexual content involving children as well. And so Twitch actually apparently couldn't find find out who he was directly, and then like put pressure on the service providers to actually give them his specific name so they could charge him with a crime.
Wow.
And so that's interesting because at least here in America, of course, that's we kind of just think of something like that as the cost of doing business, right? On the internet, is it like, well, you're gonna have to mute some asshole, right? Or you're gonna have to ban him or do whatever, even though he's gonna keep coming back with new IP addresses every 12 seconds. And I'm of some minds about this because there's a part of me that really thinks about the internet in terms of nobody is policing or that they're what's the best way to put this? Like, I don't necessarily think that there's a common attitude on the internet that's like, that's just how it is, and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I think that's a bullshit cop-out. I think that's a way for people to essentially just absolve themselves of the responsibility of doing the hard work of trying to be like, no, that's not how this is. There's got to be a better way. But I'm also very leery of taking somebody to court for being a stupid 20-year-old. But on the other hand, I look a lot of times at things like this on the internet and go, there's no other way, right? That there's no other way than like, if you do this, we're gonna put a fine on you or send you to jail, right? Because if there's any way for them to weasel around it, they will. And then it just makes the place, 150,000 messages to 1,000 different channels with just vile garbage over the course of 2 months.
Yeah.
This is just fucking things up. And this is just one of those things where you're just fucking things up for the lulls, right? And like,
well, that's excessive. Like, there's a difference between like, I get bored on a Friday night and I get drunk and I go on Twitch streams and whatever. But that sounds like that was that person's purpose.
Well, you were using a specific app to do it, right?
And so I just feel like maybe not necessarily what he said, but the amount that it's being like, it's abusing their systems.
Yeah,
I'm totally okay with people going against people that are doing that.
Yeah,
like it could have not been hate speech, and it could have been like, click my link to my channel, click the link to my channel, you should go see my channel over and over again, which is less bad but still spammy, and at some point you have to be able to like police that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because nobody wants to be in a chat if that's going to be the only thing the chat's doing.
Right, and I think that I think there are ways to work around this stuff. It's just the problem is that the small minority of people who are just fucking dedicated to being jerk-offs on the internet will not be stopped unless it comes to something like this. They will find the way around your terms of service or the one little loophole that will let them spam 150,000 chat, and they'll keep making stuff. They'll go through a VPN, and then you can't find them and whatever. And so there's a part of me that's just like, you know what? Like, I'm tired of this small group of a-holes being so loud and vocal and jerk-offy, like cheaters in an online game, right? That like, I'm so sick of it just being like, well, what are you going to do? And it's like, you're going to do something.
Yeah.
We're not just all going to sit here and decide that the grossest 1% of the internet gets to ruin experiences for the rest of us when this is one of the most fantastic pieces of technology that human adults have ever invented, and then we're going to let a fucking 20-year-old Canadian douchebag just ruin the experience. So
if I'm going to let any douchebag ruin this experience, it's going to be an American.
Damn right.
Douchebag.
Hey, pick me up. I'm Pikachu. I'm in your Twitch channel. I'm saying racist stuff. Look out.
Like, wow, Detective Pikachu is a real douche.
I started solving mysteries because I can't be on Twitch. They banned me for saying anti-Semitic things.
Jesus.
I don't want that.
Nintendo's like, please stop.
And then last but not least, this is a story that came out and I didn't really cover, but I'm going to cover it now. So I don't know if you've heard about this, but all right. There's a guy named Tyler Barris. So let's see. This is, I don't remember when exactly this happened, but it was it's not that long ago.
Okay.
So this piece of garbage was playing Call of Duty. This was, okay, so it was October of last year, late October of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Was playing Call of Duty, got mad at somebody playing Call of Duty, decided he wanted to SWAT them, called the SWAT team, did the SWAT thing, said somebody was being held hostage, ended up giving them somebody else's address, and the SWAT team kicked down the door and killed the guy.
Jesus.
Well, this guy is now being charged in Kansas for involuntary manslaughter, and he's being held, his $500,000 bond.
Yeah.
Just going back to the last story, of all the irritating bullshit that happens, I think that anybody who SWAT should be just like hunted down and put in jail.
For sure.
Just like, no, like, oh, well, you're stupid. It's just like, there's a limit to stupidity.
Yeah.
And that limit is when you get somebody fucking killed, even if you didn't mean to. When you, especially in this day and age, sending armed police into a difficult situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're not just putting that person you're swatting in danger, you're putting the police in danger.
Right.
Because I can guarantee that whichever officer killed that person, his life is totally fucking ruined.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a whole conversation about the cops that I don't want to have right here.
Right, but
like, you'd have to be a fool to realize that in today's day and age, with everybody fucking keyed up all the time and crazy, like, you know, if you say that, this person's holding a person hostage, and the police kick down the guy's door, throw in a flashbang, and tell him to get on the floor, and he doesn't hear it fast enough, you get shot, you get killed, and that's exactly what happened. Or not exactly what happened, but yeah, this guy can't go to jail fast enough for me, and I honestly think that even if you SWAT somebody and it doesn't involve the other person getting killed, you should still be sent to jail for time, and just whatever. But
yeah.
So anyway, the
lesson here is don't be a garbage person.
Yeah, try to be less of a garbage person. And that's the lesson. That's the lesson for today. All right, so let's lighten it up with a little bit of anime.
Yeah.
So we're gonna file this one. Oh shit, we need to move this faster. File this under Blizzard has entirely too much money, because they have produced a how long is this? Like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
About it's a minute and 45 seconds. Basically anime cutscene for some skins that they're putting into their Heroes of the Storm game. And it's Rhaegar from World of Warcraft, and Tyrael from Diablo, and then one of the guys from StarCraft, one of the Zergs. Like having just a straight up big old mecha weird anime fight on an aircraft carrier.
I mean, it looks cool.
Oh, it's hype as fuck.
Yeah.
It's great looking. Like they got the
Why don't they have
right.
a Netflix original series yet?
I don't even know. Well, they're too busy doing the Blizzard League or whatever. Or the
they definitely have
League.
Animators chained up somewhere, though.
I don't even think that this was them. I think that they outsourced this because it's too good.
Good, yeah, it's great.
Like, it's not even their style. It's just like so anime.
Yeah,
it makes my teeth hurt. I'd watch it. I'd watch the series. I'd watch a bunch of anime Blizzard people. I'd watch anything that Blizzard put out. Let's put it that way.
I'd watch almost anything Blizzard put out.
Yeah, unless it was like the Hearthstone cartoon. You know what's funny though is that I fucking Brian Brushwood still just like Hearthstone all the live long day. So yeah, if you haven't seen this already, even if you don't play Heroes of the Storm, which I don't, you should go check it out because it's still pretty badass. I'll tell you what else is badass, and that is Yakuza 6: The Song of Life. And we got ourselves a trailer for a bunch of mini games. Some of these are games I don't feel. Some of these are things that I've seen before in Yakuza, like the karaoke or batting practice.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, though, are a little different, like actually playing what looks like a full baseball game, or playing Tekken in Club Sega, or punching a shark. I don't know what's like shooting.
There's like a diving shooter game.
Yeah, or holding a baby. The game.
I like to think it's like Nintendogs, but with a baby.
Well, there's obviously like the screen is showing like bounce the baby with your controller, which has a question for me of like what happens if you shake it really hard?
Why is that always your question, Jeff?
I want to know what happens. They say don't ever shake a baby. I'm like, why not? Do they get superpowers? Do they catch on fire?
They're like sodas, and then they like pop and they get everywhere.
What happens
when you shake a soda?
No, what the heads explode?
Yeah, straight,
like
and then all their carbonated insides just get
their
everywhere.
Baby juices. Oh man, they had a collector's edition thing here at the end, and the CD literally has Kiryu from the Yakuza series holding the baby. And it is a testament to how much I like the Yakuza series. That last year I played Yakuza Kiwami from start to finish.
Yeah.
And that game takes place way before this, and the lady here on the front of this box is a little girl, like a 5-year-old girl in that game. Fucking loved it. Yeah. Loved it in spite of the fact there was a 5-year-old girl to just be like, bah, bah, bah. Yakuza 0 put me in a big ethical question. So, this brief sidebar here.
Yeah.
Let me know. This is like the trolley dilemma or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm walking down the street in Yakuza, and there's a little kid, and he's like, "Hey, mister," you're like, "Hey, kid, what are you doing out here in the city?" He's like, "I'm trying to go to this vending machine. I love vending machines. They've got all kinds of crazy stuff. There's one in this alleyway, but it's really dark and like, I'm scared." And you're like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll go get whatever it is that you're looking for." And he's like, "Okay." So he takes you to the alley, and it's like
panties or something.
It's just a porn mag vending machine, right? And so your character is like, "Oh, kid, I'm sorry, this is not a good vending machine for you." And the kid's like, "Why not?" He's like, "It's got magazines, and they're not for kids." And the kid gets really upset. He's like, "You lied to me. You said you would get this. I can't trust adults. When I grow up, am I gonna be a liar like all adults are liars?" And then your character has this brief moment of like, "Oh man, when I was a kid, adults were always like hiding things from me, and nobody would ever tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And they would say they would do things and they wouldn't do it. Like, what do I do?" And then it becomes this thing where like 2 office women come out and stand right next to the machine, and then like there's some older ladies on the street that see you with this kid, and then like somebody that you know walks by, and you literally have a choice to sneak past all of these women to buy some porn mag and give it to the kid, or tell the kid that you won't buy him a porno mag and break his faith in all adults.
How old is he?
I'm bad with kids' ages. I'd say 7-ish, like 6 or 7.
I would not buy it.
Not buy it. Yeah. It's a video game, so I did, and what's weird is that when you talk to the kid, he doesn't have a name. It just says innocent child. And once you've given him the porn magazine, it changes to sophisticated.
Nice.
Because everybody knows that pornography is super sophisticated.
Yep.
All right, next up on the trailer parade, Scribblenauts Showdown.
Yeah.
This looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I like Scribblenauts. I think it's adorable.
Scribblenauts has a weird this is gonna be like a versus game where you have to try to like battle somebody by putting in various things, because the thing with Scribblenauts, it's got this huge library of different things that you can just basically pull up. It's kind of an interesting idea. It'll be interesting to see maybe more of it. Like, is that the focus? I always find that Scribblenauts is interesting for a little while, and then I find like Jetpack Laser Dinosaur, and then like I just use that forever.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next up, Final Fantasy 15 is getting a Royal Edition.
Ooh.
So if you'd like to buy the actual game instead of the beta that they sold you a year ago, you can play this because it's got all the DLCs that flesh out the characters. It's got a brand new monster truck car thing.
What the fuck?
It's got the online component. It's got some first person stuff. It's got some enhancements. You can drive a boat. You can go into first person. So basically all the things that should have been in this fucking stupid piece of shit game to start with, but they didn't bother to put in. They patched in over the last 14 months.
You seem kind of angry.
This is the worst Final Fantasy game that's ever existed. And I don't know why people aren't more upset about it. The story was inexplicable to the point where they were going to patch more dialogue into the game to explain why the fuck you're doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, it starts with them on the road with the car, and they're just like, we got to get out of here. And it's like, why? And they don't explain it because it's in the fucking stupid movie you got to watch. Blurg! Anyway, it looks real nice. The game has never looked bad.
Yeah.
It just seems like this was the version that you should have put out in the first place instead of putting out a half-finished game to meet the arrival date and then adding stuff in via DLC. I don't know. A lot of games get shit for taking stuff out of the main game in DLC. Motherfucker has 3 friends, and each one of them has their own like DLC story that fleshes out their backstory. Why wasn't that included in the game when it first launched?
Yeah.
Like, that seems like it was a thing that we needed.
So, nice example of what not to do.
Exactly. I don't understand why Final Fantasy 15 doesn't get more shit. Like, it seems like it was rushed out after an insanely long development time, and that the story just wasn't very good. Like, hell, I think that there's a thing where they were talking in this trailer about how, like, you can now... in the fighting system, you can now switch between the different characters in the fighting system. So each one of the 4 characters in your party have different. Is it very early on here? Yeah, I think it's really early on here. Each one of the characters in your party like have like a different power set, right? Not just the main character. He has kind of like all these different weapons that come out of him, but then there's like a gun guy and a big sword guy and somebody else. And so like, yeah, in this trailer, it looks like you can switch between the different characters in your party. I'm like, that's a thing that should have been in the game to start with, not later on. And maybe that happens later on in the game. I played about half of the game, and then I was so bored and frustrated that I just stopped.
Couldn't handle it, yeah.
Because boo. Like, gross. Anyway, speaking of Final Fantasy Dissidia, which is the fighting game that's coming out. There's Dissidia NT is coming out for the PS4 soon, is getting an iOS and Apple spinoff, inexplicably titled Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia.
Okay.
Square Enix is bad at naming games.
Yes, they are.
So the Final Fantasy Dissidia franchise is basically like they pulled a character from each one of the Final Fantasy games to be the champion of this goddess in the fight between all the bad characters from those same Final Fantasy games. Evil guy. This actually looks really cool because it looks like instead of doing that, which has always been interesting, but it makes for a very sparse game because it's just like this guy and 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 this guy. Is that this looks like a kind of a more traditional Final Fantasy game where you've got a full party, and then each one of these characters is there's more characters from all the different franchises. So instead of just one representative, it seems like there's a bunch of different characters from all the different Final Fantasy franchises, and it's got a kind of a chibi style to it. I think it looks pretty cool, personally.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to play it. I like this world. I like the Dissidia universe, and they've got these characters that are stylized, but they have just enough detail that they make sense. So I don't know.
I mean, it looks cute.
Yep.
I love that little chibi style.
There's a Harry Potter game. We're skipping that one.
Yep.
Okay, so last but not least, we have a few different, a couple of quick rumors and announcements. One is that Rocksteady tweeted out a picture of a bunch of dudes in mocap suits that said Rocksteady's unofficial mocap support crew, fresh from a test shoot. Now, I don't know if you know who Rocksteady is. Rocksteady is the maker of all of the Batman Arkham games.
Okay.
and they haven't made anything since the VR spin-off game was they made Arkham Knight, and then they made the VR game, and they've been very mum, and nobody knows what they're doing, and we're all hoping it's something superhero related, but I'm hoping that it's something not superhero related because they breathed life into Batman, which was great. I want them to go do their somewhere else. Go do your own thing, because by the third one it was a little creaky. So, but it's cool that they're up to something. Maybe an E3 announcement this year.
Ooh,
who can say? And then Microsoft is bringing Fable back.
Yay!
Which is hopefully good news because let's see. Fable 1 was a disappointment because Peter Molyneux lied. Fable 2 was good. Fable 3 was good all the way up until the end of the game where they punished you for trying to be a good guy unless you had an obscene amount of money.
Yeah.
After that, there was the Fable Connect game where you could push the arrow into the horse over and over again, which was fucked up. It was like a riding shooting game.
Yeah.
But there was like a mini game where you could, like, if your horse got shot, you'd like pull the arrows out of your horse, but you could just
it's a horse torture game.
I don't know. And then there was like this weird asynchronous thing that they were going to put out where it was like there's going to be 4 of you playing the game. There's going to be one person with like an iPad that was like the dungeon master making things happen. They canceled that. It seems like they are bringing the franchise back, but they're giving it to the Forza Horizon developers, Playground Games. And so far, the only rumor is that it's going to be a big open world action RPG. So I don't really have very much. I don't really have a dog in the Fable fight.
Yeah.
But it's kind of shitty that they kept that franchise, let the developer go, and now they're giving it to another in-house studio to make a new game. Now, I get the impression, though, that the Fable developer, I forget who the hell that was, I get the impression from just my own, who was it? Lionhead? Was it Lionhead? I get the impression that Microsoft kept telling them to make different stupid games instead of just making another Fable game.
Yeah.
And that they kept doing it, and then those games didn't work out, and they were like, oh, you guys suck. All right, bye. Like, you're fired, but who knows? And last but not least, got a couple of fun things. First off, Kerbal Space Program Enhanced Edition is out on the PS4. If you bought the terrible, terrible version of Kerbal Space Program that was on the PS4, you get this one for free.
Yay!
It's got a slightly better control schema, and if you have never played Kerbal Space Program, I don't know if this is where to start, but maybe it is because maybe you won't be as upset about the controls, even though it seems like it's going to be a much harder game to play because you don't have mouse keyboard support. But you know what? If you already bought it, I played a little bit of it. It seems a little bit better. And last but not least, this is actually really interesting. There was a guy that was doing a charity thing for Awesome Games Done Quick. And this is Zallard1. And he did this thing. No, this is just their Twitch channel. Is this not the replay? Oh, no. Oh, this video is still available. Interesting. Well, if you can find it, I don't know if this is still here. I watch it. This guy played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out with one controller at the same time.
Wow.
And beat them both and speed ran them both.
Yeah.
Now, he did end up pausing Super Punch-Out to play regular Punch-Out and then kind of unpausing it and going back and forth. He doesn't actually play them both at the same time because they're too hard to play.
Yeah.
But it's still impressive to watch because the start button in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, I believe, it does your uppercut. So it's like he literally has to like time his coming into and out of uppercuts like with the two games running at the same time.
Yeah.
He's got a modified controller that's controlling both games at the same time, and he's playing both of them on a split screen.
Yeah.
And it was pretty impressive. So if you could find that, I recommend it because it was pretty cool.
Neat.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to have questions to answer, so stick around, and we will see you in a minute. And we're back. And it's time for questions. Amanda, are you ready for questions?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Better be good ones.
Mail@ragesite.com is the email address, and our first question this week comes in from Jack Sachs. who actually sent in 2 questions. It was a little shorter question, so we're going to do them both.
Okay. Good news, Jax-Ax.
Yep. And Jax-Ax says, hey, yo, what up, home fries? Question for Jeff, but I'm going to let you answer as well.
Yay. I'm here too.
What criteria do kid characters in movies have to follow for you to tolerate them or even like them? How would you write a kid character differently? And no, Jeff, not being in the movie doesn't count. Thanks for reading my question. Sorry about bringing this topic up again. I perfectly accept your hatred of kid characters in movies. As you always say, you do you, Jax-Ax. First off, Amanda, what are your feeling about children in movies?
I think it just depends. I hate overly cute kids in movies.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember Jerry Maguire?
Yep.
The human brain waste. Blah, blah, blah. I couldn't give. Get that kid out of that fucking movie.
Yep.
I hate when they overly adult kids, where it's like, Mother, why do you treat me this way? I want to wear a bow tie and go to school with carrying a briefcase. It's
what movie is that? The Boss Baby?
Watch The Ring again.
Oh, okay.
Because that kid is like overly adult, and the mom's the one that's like fucking around and like screwing up, and the kid lays out the clothes for her and shit, and it's just like, it's to me, it's just like, give me like a realistic kid or like a fun version of a kid, and I'm fine. I like the kids in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I think like Monster Squad is a good. But I didn't like the kids in the Goonies. I don't like the Goonies. I've never seen Stand By Me because it never seemed appealing to me. So it's just kind of like a fine line between annoying and like fun.
Okay, so I think I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I think that the answer to my dislike of kids is something that
your fear of growing old.
No, actually, the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Put it this way, I didn't hate my childhood, but in general, there were a lot more, like, the things that I remember fondly start around my teenage years. More specifically, post-school. Like, school, you know, I wasn't like, I was kind of a loner kid, right? Like, I mean, I always had like a best friend, but we would play video games and stuff. And I was very much like read books, you know, I hung around with my parents, and I went to school and I did my schoolwork. And on the weekends I would, you know, play video games and hang around. So it's like the magical wonder of being a child. I don't really have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm much more interested in the complexity of being grown up. Like, when I see the kids in Stranger Things, I'm just like, yeah, I remember being a kid in the 80s. It was stupid. It was like you were just, we're doing this thing. Oh, we're going to go to the arcade and play Golden Axe, and it's going to eat my quarters, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was much better when I had a Nintendo, or like, you know, when there was an internet. Like, the world got so much more interesting around the time that I was a teenager / a 20-year-old, when computers were doing things, and there was the internet, and there was
the
90s and grunge music, and like,
I don't need to connect like that. I wasn't a kid in the 80s. I don't need to be like, I remember when me and my friends got on, but I was a really sheltered kid. I wasn't allowed to really go out that much.
I remember when me and my kids,
your kids? How many kids you got, Jeff?
5. I've been hiding them this whole time. No, you're all my children. That's no.
Gross.
I know. I used to ride bikes with my friends. It was garbage.
Yeah,
just ride your bikes around and throw rocks at each other.
I'm saying, like, I don't need to have that nostalgia for it to enjoy seeing a series where kids do that.
Right.
Like, I just enjoy. I don't know. I enjoy like seeing a dynamic of friendship, and through any age. So when you put a group of kids together, I'm always like, how are they friends? And then when it's believable, it's enjoyable. When it's like, we need to have the plucky one, and the one that takes things too serious, and the one that's like adventurous that leads them all, it's like, well, that's dumb, because they wouldn't have actually been friends.
Right. Strangely, I don't think I've ever brought this up.
You were also attacked by a clown.
I was also attacked by a clown. No, in person, in real life, I fucking love kids. I love hanging around kids, because I remember like what it was like to just be full of whimsy. And so, you know, when little kids are just like, do you want to go throw an apple at a tree? And I'm just like, hell yeah, let's go throw. Here, let me show you what it's like when you're old and you're like grown up. Man, I'm gonna huck this apple at that tree so hard. Like, I've never had any problem I actually really enjoy hanging around kids in real life because because in real life I like their demeanor.
Yeah.
It's just the problem is that in a lot of movies they're used either to bait your nostalgia. They tend to lower the stakes because most movies will kill kids the way they'll fridge women, right? As a way of, it's like killing a dog in a movie, right?
Yeah.
Not that, yeah. Children are like dogs.
Yeah.
I'm Pikachu in it. No.
My dog is like my child.
Right. Is that it's a cheap way to elicit
an emotional reaction.
Yeah,
of course.
And I don't respond well to that. Generally speaking, the things with children don't tend to be very complex.
Yeah.
So, for example, movies with kids that I like, a few that come to mind that I think are interesting is what's funny is that what this was spawned off of somebody's comment about how I like the Babadook.
Yeah.
And that little kid's a fucking monster.
Yeah, but that's the point of the movie.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And that, like, the kind of interplay between him and his mother and her problems and his problems and, like...
Also, I've actually met kids like that. Like, that's a real thing that he's dealing with. That's not overly, like, ghost child where he's standing in the middle of a hallway and his eyes are glowing for no apparent reason. Yeah, it's not that. It's like a real, like, a mental disorder that a lot of kids deal with.
Yeah.
And it's something that people struggle with. And you're watching her descend into madness dealing with it.
Yeah, it was complex. It was adult. It was handled well. Room. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, but I really want to with Brie Larson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where it's based on the guy that kidnapped the woman, and then she had a child, and he locked her up, in this room for years and years, and she finally got out. That was also interesting. The kid in there was, and I guess I just listing off movies where it's like the children are damaged, but but for the most part,
well, that's because those children aren't used to be like nostalgia. Do you remember how fun it was to be a kid when you were locked in a room?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, just in general, the demeanor, like, there's a reason that there aren't any kids in John Wick, right?
Yeah.
Like, there aren't any kids in Star Wars. There aren't any toddlers walking around.
Are we going to pretend that
Oh, except for the one where there was one and it was terrible? It was ostensibly the worst one.
There weren't any kids in Star Wars. Like, are we all agreeing on that now?
Except for the worst one. Oh, yeah, and then when Anakin Skywalker murdered a bunch of children.
There's one kid. All right, I will always bring it up. There's one kid that gets all the way out to the Jedi parking lot. Like, there's like a spaceship that
it's like a tween, right?
He seems like he's like 12, 13.
Yeah.
He gets all the way out, away from Anakin.
Yeah.
Gets shot down like a bitch.
Yeah, because Jimmy Smits is out there and he's just like, oh yeah, I didn't see anything. Whoop,
what I wanted was for him to like jump off the edge of the building and then us be like, oh man, he jumped to his death, and then you could easily be like, or did he? And then bring him up later.
It's like me when I get invaded in Dark Souls and I wait until the person shows up and then I just jump off a cliff. Just like, fuck you! Go back to your world, I don't care!
Yes, that.
But so the main thing is that, here's some other reasons. Most of the time, children are not very good actors.
No.
You go back and watch episode 1 and watch Jake Lloyd fucking run through those lines. Of course, George Lucas kind of made everybody act poorly in all those movies.
Pan's Labyrinth has a good child actor.
Yep.
Guillermo del Toro is actually excellent at directing children. Another
complex movie with dark tones, and City of Lost Children has a little girl in it. I don't have any problem with it. It's just most of the time when there's a child in a movie, it means 1, that the complexity is going to be dumbed down, 2, that the sacred cow level is way up. Like, you're probably not going to kill the kids unless it's for a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then there's other stuff like I recognize that The Sandlot is a perfectly functional movie, but I don't have any interest in watching it because I'm just kind of like, as much of kids doing their things, like, whatever.
I mean, I really like The Mighty Ducks.
No.
But they're also a little older. They're like tweeny.
Yeah.
They start tweeny and they end up in college by the end of that franchise.
I don't
Little
really...
Giants? How do you feel about Richie Rich? I've talked about Richie Rich like 5 times this week.
This may be one of the reasons is that I was forced to sit through fucking Annie so many times as a kid, and I just no more Annie.
Nothing makes you hate child actors more than working with child actors. Oof. And I tried to be one when I was a kid.
Really?
I did a stage play of Bye Bye Birdie, not like high school play, a little higher up than community theater, a little lower down than like real theater. They're garbage people. They're horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was.
Well, they're children.
Yeah, but
children
they're like
horrible.
Children that want to be famous are literally the worst fucking people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were awful. Okay. It was also my first sexual harassment experience, and the kid was the same age as me, and he was like, "I'm going to put my hand down your top."
Jesus.
Yeah. And then I was like, "No," and then he went, "Well, you shouldn't have worn that top then."
What?
Yeah, and I was.
Good God Almighty.
Oh, how old was I? Like 12? 11?
Blah.
Yeah, and an 11-year-old boy told me that. I was like, what world do we live in?
Yeah. Let's go to another question.
Abort mission. Abandoned ship. Jack Sachs Part 2?
Yeah, Jack Sachs Part 2. Says, hey, everybody, what sci-fi story, or story in general, if you prefer, do you think would make the next great movie franchise? What would be a great pairing between a director and a video and a well this is got so many questions. What would be a great pairing between a director and a video game that can be adapted into a movie? Me personally, I think that David Lynch, if he's willing to direct movies again, would be great for a proper Silent Hill movie, which I actually think would work. Yeah. Except that David Lynch, I'll finish it. With many video games being creative as if they are movies, what are some of your favorite video games that would be near impossible to adapt into anything else? God damn, dude, you got like a ton of questions.
Yeah, you need can you break this down into separate questions
let's start. What sci-fi story or story in general do you think would make for a good movie franchise?
I mean, all the sci-fi I consume as movie franchises.
Right. Maybe just story in general. What is there like a book or something that?
I mean, I read horror. I don't read sci-fi, and then none of my horror is like sci-fi based. So
we'll take sci-fi out of the question. What horror have you read recently that you think would make for a good like franchise or movie?
I think so. The last book that I finished was The Rib, from which I remake the world, because I stopped reading for a while and then I went back to it because I've mentioned it a few times.
Sure.
It's kind of like I want to say it's, what is it, like 1930s Depression era detective / voodoo story with a little bit of like circus freak in it. I think it would be a really interesting short-lived like Netflix series.
Okay.
Like it'd be really interesting. You get a good period piece going on. You get this weird small town dealing with cinema, people doing they call it a hygiene film.
Okay.
And you go to a midnight showing and it like shows people making a baby, and then it shows a girl being pregnant, and then it shows the delivery of the baby, but then it's like there's some things happening beyond that like is spooky, scary stuff. Okay. And it's just kind of interesting to me.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I have 2 I think that would work. I really, really, really think that I mean, I don't know. I was gonna say I'm gonna maybe a little biased, but I don't even think that's true. I honestly feel like futuristic violence and fancy suits would make for an excellent 5 or 6 episode series.
Yeah.
I don't think that it would make for a good.
That's a David Wong
movie.
book, right?
Yeah. It's the one that he did before the latest one, which was part of the John Dies at the End franchise. That the third one came out. It was very good. I enjoyed it. I liked futuristic violence and fancy suits. To me, though, was like really interesting because it was near future kind of deconstruction of superheroes, where there's like this town that was like an artificial town that was created that is essentially like lawless, that was out in the Nevada desert, and the guy that made it ends up leaving like his fortune to his daughter, who lives in like a dumpy trailer park, and she goes there, and it turns out that there are people there that have used some of the technology because it's a real weird town because there's just no law preventing anything, and so it's very violent, but also there's been a lot of innovation, and that people have started to like augment themselves to become actual honest to God like power using superheroes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of her dealing, kind of just this Midwest girl with like, you know, who's lived in a trailer park all her life, dealing with a bunch of these assholes in suits that can throw fireballs at each other.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. I think it would make for a really interesting story.
What about, and I know you read it, the Chuck Palahniuk book?
Oh, Beautiful You?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
As like a sci-fi parody of the 50 Shades of Grey franchise. Because it reads like a 50 Shades of, like the pitch reads like a 50 Shades of Grey.
The problem with all Chuck Palahniuk books is that, as I've said before, they end up in a place which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it's the place where all of the women of the world are fully addicted to the guy's crazy sex toys.
Yeah.
And like the men are all just pissed off. And yet nobody's like burned down the store that sells the sex toys.
Yeah.
So that, because like, I got to tell you, like in that book, like when they get to the kind of weird dystopian part of it where like all the women are just like these filthy zombies trying to get these sex toys all the time. And like they're so strung out on these hyper sex toys that like they're all like just under bridges with like these crazy dildos.
Yeah.
And like none of them will work and they're all like starving to death and they're just brain controlled. And all the men are just like trying to find all their wives and the women and what's happened to them. And it's like, but okay, listen.
It's like he watched Down with Love and then misinterpreted it.
Okay, so like there's two problems that I have here is that like the women line up to go to the store because eventually the toys break and they have to go buy a replacement.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm not trying to advocate anything here, but in this dirty, fucked up universe full of like all of the men of the world who can't get laid no more, you got to imagine that a line of women lined up to the sex shop store every day would not exactly be safe, especially if they're dirty, emaciated zombies from the roving packs of angry, horny men wandering around. Okay, that's dark. But the thing is, again, like they never indicate that there's like machine guns out front of the door to keep anybody from fucking hurling a Molotov cocktail in there. It's like guys try to go take the toys away from the women and they mob them and they punch them and they get rid of them. And I'm just like, yeah, but like I got a feeling before the world gets to this point that there's a big group of angry Brooklyn dudes and Detective Pikachu is with them with like pitchforks and torches that are like, we're gonna fucking burn down your fucking stupid sex toy store and then we're gonna find you and we're gonna kill the guy that made all this and then we're gonna like drag you out into the middle of the street and execute you because you've turned the women into crazy sex zombies and we're gonna be done with this shit.
And you don't want this to be some kind of franchise
but the problem
or
is
movie
that doesn't happen and then it has to
hilarious.
be.
Well, you could, when you adapt it, you just change it. You just tweak it a little.
Spoiler alert for this book. Instead, the main girl character has to go and climb up a mountain and get taught sex magic from this million-year-old woman.
How could you
who
not
lives in
want to
a
watch
cave.
this movie?
Because they literally talk about like her Oliver Gray like mane of, you know what? It's a weird, stupid book like most Chuck Palahniuk books.
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
It doesn't end well.
Down.
Yeah, it doesn't end well. The best thing that ever could have happened to Fight Club is having somebody rewrite the last like third of that book into just like...
Yeah, if you don't believe that, read the Fight Club 2 comic book.
You met me at a very interesting time in my life, and then the Pixies play, and then we're done.
Yay!
Great. Nobody has to have any more questions. Anyway, as far as another series, I've recently been reading this book, this series. I found a new sci-fi series, and it's called it's the Honor Harrington series, and it's basically just this lady that's like a lady ship captain in this British space military.
Yeah,
and it was really, really, really slow to start. The first book, like the first goddamn half to 2/3 of the first book was like slow, and every other book is slow to start. they get better. It's usually you only have to suffer through about the first quarter to a third of the book before things really start picking up.
Yeah.
But it's been great. Like the first one was very much just kind of like this main character. She's given the Starship Command and sent off to this punishment detail and ends up uncovering this huge thing. And then everybody's like, there's a crew and blah, blah, blah. And then like the second book, I think it's the second book, or is it a little more after that, where she gets sent to this planet where it's like a very religious society that's very male dominated, and like her organization has a mixed military, right? So it's men and women serving together, and so there's this very kind of like clash of ideals between her and this. It would come off as super terrible, right? Today, it would be like an attack against religion, even though in the book they kind of go out of their way to explain that like the people on this planet don't really want to be, that they developed into these kind of misogynist assholes because they live on this planet that's trying to kill them, and so like it's very important that they have a lot of children because most of them are going to die, and so the relationship between men and women is vastly different, and blah blah. Anyway, I'm on like book 7, and there's 13 of them, and so far they've been wonderful. There was one that was almost all just kind of parliamentary intrigue. It's great. I really like it, and she's a great character. It's a great world. It's got a wonderful bunch of like supporting characters that kind of. Like I'm on book 6 or 7, and like sometimes you get somebody and I remember that guy from book 2, and then he's back to be a pivotal role in book 7 or whatever. And I'm like, great, this is all real great. So, that's the series that I'm currently reading, and so that's the one that I'll put up there as the thing. Most of the sci-fi space opera stuff that I do, I think could totally be made into a series.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because I don't know that we've ever seen a. Okay, what do you think? Outside of Macross, maybe, even a movie that's mostly just about like spaceships blasting each other. I mean, like most of the Star Treks have some of that in there, but that's not the main thrust of the movie.
Yeah.
It's more about like, we got to get off this planet. Khan's got the Genesis device, so I've got to blast him with my starship to get the Genesis device back, right? And I think that I like that. I like that genre. It's kind of like how Starship Troopers was very just like a bunch of guys shooting bugs, right? Except it's in space and they're shooting stuff. So.
I mean, I love that book too.
Yeah.
My brother, he was reading the book and he said it reminded him of Gears of War. Made him want to play Gears of War.
Oh, there you go. Oh shit. Okay. Well, let's do these other questions real fast here. A great pairing between a director and a video game that can be adapted into a movie. This is a difficult one.
Yeah, it is.
James Gunn and Lollipop Chainsaw.
James Gunn and like 90% of video games.
Yeah.
Anything with any sense of humor to it, I would trust.
I have a hard time because I'm not as much of a director following.
I mean, I have my directors, but I like them because of their original shit, not because of their ability to direct other people's stuff. I feel like Guillermo del Toro should do some kind of video game movie because he was so involved in video games for a minute and then was like, I'm not going to make a video game because the video game industry is fucked.
I think he'd make a good Silent Hill. I mean,
for sure.
I think he's got the visual chops. Right. Well, yeah, exactly. But I think he'd make a good Silent Hill movie.
Yeah.
Because I think that he knows how to focus on the supernatural in interesting ways instead of. The problem with Silent Hill is there's 2 Silent Hills. You know this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not like there are more than one Silent Hill game, but like there's a set of Silent Hill that is about this cult trying to rebirth a dead god. That's Silent Hill 1, Silent Hill 3. And then Silent Hill 2, 4, 5, I think, are about Silent Hill, the town, fucking with one person's sense of reality, right? That's Silent Hill 2, which everybody really likes. I think I'm getting that right. Feel free. I'm sure you will comment.
Yeah.
People
good thing you gave them permission. Otherwise, they wouldn't have.
That's true. But I think that he could do a personal story. Like I actually look at the way that Crimson Peak does supernatural, and I think that having a human story that has a supernatural component in it. a la this town that punishes people or that has this kind of weird psychic, distortion could work.
Yeah. I mean, I always felt bad that George A. Romero didn't get to do the Resident Evil movie that he wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Edgar Wright and Portal, maybe?
That'd be fun.
Something comedic. There's so few comedic video games out there. I don't know.
Who was Wheatley and
Stephen Merchant?
Okay.
Is that who that was?
Because it's going to be Simon Pegg if...
I could see Simon Pegg as Wheatley.
Yeah.
I could see that.
100%.
I can see that.
Nick Frost, Space...
That's right. I could see fucking Scorsese making a Grand Theft Auto crime ass movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh man, what if
Oh, you know who would be good at Grand Theft Auto? Would be as that's weird. Grand Theft Auto as a series? No, Red Dead Redemption as a series directed by Vince Gilligan from Breaking Bad. That kind of real kind of crime day-to-day life kind of thing.
What about Saints Row by Guy Ritchie?
I could see that. That would work. Yeah, no. At first I was just laughing and now I'm like, nope. Yeah. Or it's too bad Takeshi Miike is out of the thing. I'd like to see him direct a Yakuza game or a Yakuza movie. Or a Phoenix Wright movie. Takeshi Miike can kind of direct anything, and I'm willing to watch it.
I'd be like, yeah.
And last, this is real quick. We'll do with video games. What are some of your favorite video games that would be near impossible to adapt into anything else? As
Brutal Legend.
Take your pick.
Most video games. I don't think that there's any way to make a coherent Metal Gear movie. I don't think there's any way to make a coherent. I don't think that Dark Souls works as a non-interactive thing. Yeah.
Personally, interactivity. There's some stuff. I think that the you could probably make a Legend of Zelda movie, right? You can definitely make an Uncharted movie. The more cinematic the game is,
you can make a Mass Effect movie. You can make
sure.
Dead Space movie.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably do a Gears of War movie.
Ooh, Dead Space would be an interesting. Guillermo del Toro makes Dead Space.
Yeah. Well, John Carpenter does Dead Space. He's already done the thing.
Right. Interesting.
Did you hear that Rotten Tomatoes said that John Carpenter was dead?
Yes, I did.
That was great. Did you know John Carpenter responded?
No, I didn't see him respond.
John Carpenter said, despite how I may appear, I am still alive. And then the first comment I saw when I saw that in a Imager thread, the first comment was, I watched The Thing. It's not him. Great.
All right, let's zip through these. Our next one comes in from Greg. Greg says, hello, Jeff and Amanda. This year is opening up an amazing opportunity for me to become a creative partner in a startup film studio. The studio will be specializing in horror and genre films. This is for you, Amanda. What are your thoughts on what has been overplayed and conversely underserved in horror, sci-fi, and action films? What do you want to see more of in modestly budgeted independent cinema? Your loyal patron, Greg.
Trying to think of what's been overdone. So right now, horror is a great thing to get into because it's been opened up for a lot more independent people. So you're getting a lot of different things at once. It's not everyone's doing a slasher right now, or everyone the 90s was a lot of meta, and
right.
The 80s was a lot.
Scream.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I can't even think of Wes Craven kind of always did that. Thanks New Nightmare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks Last Action Hero.
yeah, really. But and then the 80s had a lot of slashers and boobies. The 80s had a lot of boobies. But I can't really think of what right now. I feel like we're transitioning between stuff.
I can think of I think that Hollywood I don't really watch that many movies, but I do kind of try to keep up with them. I think there hasn't been a really good new slasher in a while, right?
Hatchet's one that people seem to really like. I don't, but it's a full franchise. I think it's 4 movies in or something.
Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast where they're talking about the Bye Bye Man, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, no.
And I think we briefly touched on it, but like, how shitty does that Slender movie look? Like, fuck you.
Oh my God, did you watch?
It's the Ring. It's just the fucking Ring with the Slender Man.
Did you see the Truth or Dare trailer?
No.
So do you know about it at all?
Yes.
Okay, so
actually, wait, I heard good things about that one.
I think it kind of looks like It Follows, but like the drink a beer and watch it. If that makes sense, like,
sure.
It Follows was like indie. This is like a little more mainstream version of it, where they're like, it's faster, funner, more dynamic, a little bit Final Destiny. I think I would like to see a little more creature featurey. I feel like we're getting a lot of haunted houses. And like demonic stuff, especially like Insidious movies. It's Sinister,
The
Conjuring,
Annabelle,
a lot of those.
and all that.
Yeah. So, and that's all like demon possessed a doll or whatever. Right. I would like to see a little more like werewolves, and I'd like to see vampires again. I feel like we haven't seen those, and I'd like
Twilight ruined them all.
I really want to see them pull the action away from horror movies, because I feel like a lot of horror movies have turned into action films.
Really,
I feel like they.
I don't really watch that many of them, so I'm.
Because like The Mummy was not as much of a horror film as it was supposed to be, and that was a big problem with it. Well, there's a lot, but yeah. I can't believe they're still making. Can I just say I can't believe they're still making Chucky movies?
I love Chucky movies. Okay, so I actually have a few answers.
Yeah, go for it.
In horror, a thing that I feel like is dramatically underserved at this point is a thing that is near and dear to my heart, which is the horror comedy.
Yes.
They're so grim now. I mean, like, okay, I was just looking at a list of best horror movies of 2017. Like, Get Out was a very good movie, right? But like Annabelle and fucking It Comes at Night, like, just, you know that there was horror movies where it was a fun time, slash 'em up.
I mean, Sam Raimi.
Right.
Sam Raimi horror movies are comedies and horror without losing either. Like, it's not like Scary Movie where you're letting go of the idea of horror so that you could be funny. Like, it's both. It's funny and it's scary. It has scary moments in it.
I think this may be on my mind because I just finished watching season 1 of Ash versus the Evil Dead, and I think I posted this on Twitter. It might have been a while back, where I was like, I love the idea because the Deadites are like zombies, except they're just like giant assholes.
Yeah.
Because they're not, because they talk. So they're not just like mindlessly killing people. They're also just like humiliating you and fucking with you at the same time. And I love the idea that the only man that can stand up to this is the biggest asshole that humanity has ever created, because he's the only one that has the power to shit talk back a Deadite and just be like,
that's why he's the chosen one.
You got real fucking ugly, baby. Like, just anyway, I think that comedy. Shaun of the Dead is one of my favorite. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah.
We had that one with Adam Scott or whatever. The
Little Evil?
Yeah. Which
the
that was
Netflix one?
That was
the little Omen thing.
I got what they were going for, but it wasn't as tight as Tucker and Dale.
Did you watch The Babysitter?
I did.
Okay.
Did you watch The Babysitter?
I haven't seen it. What do you think of it?
I liked it. But here's the thing. I like McG. I can't say that I don't like McG.
Yeah.
Because I like Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun.
Yeah.
The Babysitter was absolutely ridiculous, and I also thought it was fun. You know.
Yeah.
And did you know that the girl in Ash versus the Evil Dead, the blonde Australian woman, she's like the main character.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of this comes down to I have a weird lowered expectation for Netflix because I don't have to drive to a theater and give them fucking $25 to watch a Netflix movie. But I watched it and I was just like, I don't know. It had a beginning, a middle, and end. It had a soundtrack. It had kids that I didn't hate.
Yeah, that's a movie that has kids in it, like teenagers.
Yeah, and it was real schlocky. I like my horror movies schlocky, you know? So very much comedy. And then on the other side where you say what do you find overused? Again, I'm going to point to stuff like It Comes at Night and It Follows, of this grim, depressing, even the Babadook in a lot of ways.
Oh my God, yeah.
Very oppressive it's not even like it's like just a vibe. It's the vibe of the movie is just like pushing down on you, like, look how shitty it is. Look how shitty everything is.
Yeah.
Just like,
but it's weird. It's difficult to be like, you know what I really want? A lighthearted horror movie.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
I haven't seen Jigsaw yet.
I haven't watched.
I don't know what's Tragedy Girls.
Tragedy Girls is about two girls that are like obsessed with social media, and they want to be these. They're not real popular, so they like create a murder. They kill somebody who is popular on social media, and then they act like they're trying to investigate his murder.
Interesting.
And then they start like killing it. It's kind of a parody, kind of not.
Okay.
More like I don't know if it's meta, but like a commentary on people that are like on social media a lot.
Another thing that I feel like is dramatically underused, and it's difficult, obviously, is because I was looking at this thing and I saw Life on there, which I don't know if I entirely consider that a horror movie-ish.
I would say it's more like a sci-fi thriller, right?
But I was going to say space.
Just watch Event Horizon over and over and over again.
Event Horizon, Alien, original Alien.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then something like Dead Space, right, is that space gives you a lot of different interesting avenues to take with your thing.
I really like
Jason X. Sunshine.
It's not a horror, but it has a murderer in it.
Yeah.
It's got a weird religious thing that you could really manipulate into a much more of a horror film.
Yeah. And then I hear... have you watched A Ghost Story yet?
No.
I've heard nothing but good stuff about A Ghost Story.
Really?
That is not a horror movie.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. It's... yeah.
And then the one that I want to see is Wish Upon.
It looked kind of like garbage.
Oh, no. The Red Letter Media guys did like a 2017 film wrap-up thing.
Yeah.
And they like convinced me to watch that movie by how garbage. Like, it's not just garbage. It's super garbage.
Because I didn't get to see a lot of... I spent 100 days watching old horror movies.
Right.
So I didn't get to watch a lot of new horror movies. So at some point, I want to watch whatever were considered like the best... horror movies that came out last year,
right?
So that I can catch the fuck up.
I was thinking, I mean, like, I think that for horror, again, a lot of it is just finding a good concept that hasn't already just been completely done to death.
Yeah.
And, like, I know that before I was advocating for slasher movies, but the main issue, I think, is that like when you think of...
You have to give me a reason why your slasher movie is good and not just, this is a throwback to 80s slashers, because I could just watch old slasher movies.
I got an idea. I got $1 million idea. You can have it for free.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this for a while. You know what the slasher genre, in my opinion, needs?
What?
Is a lady.
A lady slasher?
And I'm not talking about like The Babysitter, like some hot 17-year-old whatever.
You mean Jason Voorhees' mom?
I'm thinking of somebody who's built like
Large Marge.
Christy Phasma, Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some fucking 7 foot tall, like stacked like a brick shit house lady that goes to a frat house and starts Jasoning a bunch of frat dudes. And I'm just saying, gender flip the entire equation and have it be the last boy instead of the last girl.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you were to make that movie now...
Yeah, good luck.
Well, no. But see, here's the thing. If you made that movie now, it would get... You would have automatic... Would you make
it as a serious movie or would you make it as a parody?
Always make it as a serious movie that is and then if it comes out poorly or if it comes out funny, right, instead, the best...
Do you think it should just be played straight and if the humor is there? Yeah, I guess.
Always play it straight. Nothing is worse than when a movie is like,
look at the camera and like wink.
But no, think about if you made that movie now, you wouldn't even have to advertise it. Because
so many people would be like, fucking SJW, goddamn movie.
You put out a trailer.
Don't watch that movie. And a bunch of feminist girls would be like, oh my God, this is the movie we've been waiting for. And then people are like, you're a feminist. You're not supposed to like people murdering other people.
And I'm not talking about like not like I Spit on Your Grave. Not like a wronged woman who comes back. I'm talking about just like, like a straight up fucking... Leatherface, we don't even know, just some, and then like, oh, well, nobody lives in that house. That's the murder house. And then like 20 years later, fucking I don't know, Frederica Krueger or, like whatever. Jessica Voorhees comes back and just starts like fucking totally splattering dudes and have that, kind of unstoppable zombie tank machine, but have it be a lady. And then like, great. Because you know what was a really good movie? What was it called? The Kind Ones, the something ones. It was an Australian, it was more of a horror thriller. And it was the Kindly Ones. Was that what it was called? It was about a woman who it was a girl in high school. No, that's not it. It was about a girl in. No, hold on. I gotta find this. It was about this young girl who asks this dude to the prom.
The Kind One.
The Kind One
2016?
Yes. Was it that?
I don't know.
Let's see. Does it have a picture of a lady with a little hat on?
No. It says it's a short film.
No, it's not. That's not it. Hold on. I gotta put my. Hold on. Talk about a horror movie you like for a second.
I like all horror movies. This is an unfair thing. I'm trying to think of what you're going for as far as Australian girl.
The Loved Ones.
The Loved Ones.
Do you remember this? Did
I
you
remember
see
that
it?
poster.
It's like this girl asks this dude to the prom and he like says no, and so like her and her dad like kidnap him and basically attempt to torture him into loving his daughter.
Nice.
And it's a fucked up movie.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a good movie, but
I like fucked up and weird. Like I kind of really like The Martyrs.
Yeah.
I really like but I don't like torture porn.
Right.
Don't do torture porn.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do something edgy, make a scary story.
It's actually really crazy because like when you ask like what you should do, and I'm like, just make sure it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter as long as it's really good.
Like if you need it, like there's going to be a certain point where you're probably not going to be able to tell anymore, where you're going to need to get somebody else that you trust to be like, read this and then tell me if it's any good, because people will know if it's good. Like if you have to coerce them into, whether or not they think it's good, but like, I don't know. The main thing I think is just like a good premise, which I know is not good advice. Just have a good premise for your movie.
Why don't you just make a good movie?
Why don't you just make a good movie and then your movie will be good?
Yeah.
But something unique, something interesting.
I mean, it just has to be. It can be
derivative.
Well,
as long as it's well executed.
Yeah, exactly. Like it could be something that we've already seen, as long as you're looking at it through a different lens, a different angle. Like you're falling from a different character's viewpoint.
Yeah.
Anything that really makes it worth watching, and not just kind of repeating what other people have done.
Right. Shit. All right, we got to speed it up. Let's see. This comes in from Doc Rory, who says, "Dear Jeff and Amanda, I, like your esteemed self, am a shameless whore for upgrade mechanics and skill trees. However, these days, they seem so much less about giving interesting procs and extra effects and more about flat numbers. Where did we go wrong? What game should be held as a shining beacon of light for developers now? Are there any hidden gems in the current generation of games? Any wisdom you could dispense about this would be fascinating to hear. Kindest regards, Doc Rory." And he says, "P.S. Are you a fan of tower defense games? If so, can you explain why Bloons is so incredibly good? All I can figure is that it has creative tower types, but I think that's a whole another question. I am not a fan of tower defense games, except for Defense Grid, but
they're fun for a short period of time.
Yeah,
they're like good time killers for me. I don't really.
Only
unless it's Plants vs. Zombies.
Unless it's fucking Iron Brigade.
Yeah. But then I beat it once, and then I could never beat it again because I don't know what happened, but I just couldn't.
You lost it. You had it. You lost it.
I had the mojo, and I lost the mojo.
I don't know. I think that a lot of games, when it comes to upgrade mechanics, you get he's talking about like when you get an upgrade, it's like plus 2% lightning resist, and it's like, oh, good, that'll make a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
you just mansplain that to
Sorry.
me?
Sorry. It's very late. I'm very tired. I tend to mansplain when I'm tired.
I have to tell you this because there's no other time to do it.
Yeah.
I had a guy ask me, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like on this scale, 1 would be you don't like it. 10 would be you love it.
Yeah.
5 would be somewhere in the middle of it. Like a 6 would be you're in the. And I'm like, I can't.
I get what 1 to 10 means.
I was like, what the fuck do you want me to scale? Because it's gonna be a 1.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure when this issue started. I actually think it's always been around.
Do we know for sure that those like weird percentages actually do any? Like, are they like how accurate are they? Do you know what I mean? Or do they just say it and it makes you feel better as a player?
It depends on the game. It also depends on the percentage.
Yep.
Some games, like Dark Souls, has a very much like when you level up, you can see there's certain stats that will give you like resistance to certain things. But generally, I tend to move that into equipment. But even then, it's largely in like I don't know, it's whatever.
Yeah, but like Evil Within 2, we're playing, and that has an upgrade where it'll be like 25% reload time, and you're like, do you feel it? Do you honestly feel it?
A little bit. Okay. When we're playing it a little bit, that game has so many upgrades though that act in conjunction with each other that like I look a lot of times when you get to an upgrade tree, like in Evil Within 2. There's ones that I feel like it's just I gotta get this one out of the way. Yeah. Like plus 10% to reload speed. I don't fucking care about that. Like I'm never gonna need to reload 10% faster.
You're like, oh man, if only I could have reloaded 10% faster, I would have beat that guy.
Yeah, exactly. On the other hand, adding a 75% extra damage to the handgun has done wonders for us, in the game. I don't know. I don't play a lot of RPGs, which is like a lot of times where that stuff comes in.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of single player games have are better about that than RPGs. What comes to mind though when you ask about games that do it very well is I was actually just extolling the virtues again to Jason Murphy earlier this evening about Doom. And how all of the sub-weapon upgrades, getting the sub-weapons, the runes that you equip, every one of those represented a really big like addition to your arsenal, something new. And they doled them out at such a perfect rate for you to like get I don't take damage from close-up rocket shots anymore, to give you a little time to see that in effect, and then okay, here's another one, try this one out now. That was an incredibly elegant system in the way that they tied those upgrades to challenges in the map of doing specific things. That game is such an underrated masterpiece. Even just the way that the little map challenge rooms were tuned to be difficult, but like they were perfectly difficult because they were like, I'm going to need to try this twice and I'm almost going to get there. Like it's not going to be so difficult that I'm just going to start it and then fail immediately and be like, oh, you expect me to be some kind of like super MLG pro gamer for this.
Yeah.
So, there was another one that I was actually thinking of, but I kind of lost it. No.
It's gone forever. Once you mentioned Doom, there is no other game.
Yeah. Horizon Zero Dawn did a pretty good job of that too, of a big upgrade tree, and every time that you picked an upgrade, it was like a power. That's what I want. I want you to give me another ability that I can use. It's weird because it's not an RPG and it's not an upgrade, but it is a progression system. Hitman had the incentives of unlocking equipment whenever you went up in a level, which is one of the reasons that I kept playing it, because it would be like, ooh, I really want the lockpick, the digital lockpick that comes at level 7, right? So I'll just keep playing it. Anyway, let's keep rolling here.
Keep on.
Actually, I think we're just gonna have to cut some of these out.
Oh no.
Let's see here. Boop boop. All right, we got 2 more. Matt writes in and says, "Hello, Jeff, and perfectly respectable Amanda." Okay. It says, you've often said that the PS1 era graphics really get on your nerves, but are there any PS1 era games that you would ever consider playing on Rage Select? Personally, I'd love to see you play the original PS1 Resident Evil, just to hear your commentary on the incredibly bad voice acting and equally blocky graphics and clunky tank controls. Your fan forever. even if you did like The Last Jedi.
Oh,
Matt. So, oof. Man. I don't know. What are your feelings about?
I'm trying to think of.
Do you? Well, let me
I'm
ask
not good at like. Oh yeah, I totally remember all these games that were PlayStation 1 games.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, for me, the question is really, I feel like this.
We already played the game that I would want to play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you and I played Parappa the Rappa.
Boo!
Hey, it was so good. You had a good time.
Boo, Parappa, boo,
Yeah,
boo.
great time. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, I loved that.
But see, they did a remaster of that, so like I would just play that,
Yeah.
right? The problem is mostly just that it's real gross looking.
Pepsi Man?
What's that?
I don't know. It just says Pepsi Man.
Okay, there are a few. Resident Evil 3 has never gotten a really good remaster. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, and it's always one that I've wanted to go back and play.
Yeah.
Bushido Blade is really, really good. That's just a square game where it's just like a bunch of dudes with katanas fighting each other. But
Yeah,
like
I
it's
feel like I remember that.
very realistic, so just like one shot and you get killed. I have a lot of fond memories for Parasite Eve, which was
Oh, I remember that.
yeah, a square game where you're like a lady shooting like weird. It's kind of like Resident Evil, but a sci-fi RPG almost.
Yeah. Is that the one that starts off with the opera singer? Or am I thinking of a different one?
Ooh, maybe. Symphony of the Night is good. I've always been interested in Chrono Cross. The main problem is just that, like, okay, so Square keeps putting out games like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, where they just kind of have up-resed those old graphics and made everything work on a PC, and now you can play it. And it's just, they look like shit. Like, they just look like garbage. Like, there's PlayStation 2 games that we've played even on the, like, for the Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
I got no problem with old PS2 games. Like, they hold up relatively well because they got to a point where they could smooth over the blocky edges and you didn't have somebody with a fucking square head going
Yeah.
PS1 era just like it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, how about the Twisted Metal games? Those are PlayStation 1, right? I was a diehard Twisted Metal fan.
Mostly I'm looking for stuff that had sprites where it was like a PS1 game but it had but it was using just regular old sprites. Tenku, Clona, Suikoden, Driver. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've listed what I wanted, what I would be willing to play. So, considering we only have a couple more questions left, let's just go through it. Silent Hill, Resident Evil. I really wish they would go back and remaster some of these older games, like for realsies. Okay, one more question. This one's from Warren. Warren says, hey, inhabitants of the planet Rage. So obviously Persona is both an RPG and a life sim, making a wonderful mix that keeps the other from getting stale. If you were to mix any two genres, what would they be to make a beautiful, cohesive concoction? Longtime patron Warren.
Portal.
Okay.
And Bridge Simulator.
Have I got news for you?
Yeah.
Metal Gear and those booby ninja games.
Oh my God.
Senran Kagura Metal Gear. Oh, gross. Let's see. I assume we're looking for like radically different styles.
Yeah,
of
I'm
games.
like, fuck.
You know, there was a game that I always really liked. I've been threatening to play on the website for years called Fuck.
Called Fuck? That's a weird name for a game.
God damn it. Hold on. It was interesting though. It was a PC game that was it was a PC game that came out back in the 90s, and it was comics, novels, short fiction, nonfiction. Oh, Jesus Lord. God damn it. Hostile Waters and Teus Rising.
Uh-huh.
And it was a third person, like a kind of a real-time strategy game, but you could jump into any of the units and then use them. And it was necessary, actually, to jump in to use them in different ways. Mm-hmm. It was an incredibly good game that combined, because a lot of times I look at third person, like a real-time strategy game, and think they're so detailed now that there's no reason why you couldn't just jump into that sprite and then play like an action game, right? So give orders and then jump out, kind of like if like almost like if Brutal Legend would let you just like go to a top down mode and give like StarCraft orders and then just like jump back into one of the different characters. I think that'd be interesting. Visual novel and tower defense.
Weird.
It's two of my least favorite games.
I don't really know what I'd I feel like most genres already mix fairly decently.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I really like side scrollers. Well, you can kind of mix that with everything.
Yeah. True. Well, now that my brain is totally fried, I think we're done.
Like, oh my God.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Mail at rageselect.com is the email address. Send in your questions. And, I think that's it. We'll see you next week. Amanda, thanks for sticking around so late. Bye, everybody.